Hey guys, Chief Fruity here, and this is the behind the scenes of Black Tiger, which is the final behind the scenes of Wreckage. So for this one, this is actually one of the more simple songs of Wreckage. It only took me over the course of 2 days to write this song. Um, it's a pretty simple song, so just 2 days to write. It was basically over one day where I wrote this song, but the second day was kind of just polishing some of the musical elements, kind of some of the drum beat stuff, and adding in the crash thing here. And then I added in this bass line down here on the second day of working on this. But that was only for writing the song, of course. Then after that, then there was mixing and mastering, and that took most of the time there. But to write the song is pretty simple. And why I mention that is basically to show that the song's really repetitive, so there's not going to be a whole lot to go over in this video. But what there is to go over, I will go over in pretty deep depth, so you can get into all of that. So without any further ado, let's get right into this behind the scenes of Black Tiger. So the first thing right here is the tempo is 123 beats per minute. So that is a pretty, it's a little unique tempo there, because originally it was 120, and this. And you can tell it sounds a little bit different, but I wanted to get a tiny bit faster, around the 123, just worked for this song, for what I was trying to get on this. So I just ended up putting it at 123, which this is the whole song's at halftime, so it would really be at 61.5 BPM. That's probably, if you put this into a program where it would calculate BPM, it would probably say 61.5, but it's really 123 at halftime. So into this lead here, it starts off pretty calm. Just put an octave up here. So with this lead, it is pretty unique here. At least for the time I made this, it was something very different. I don't have any leads like this in Wreckage. So the first thing I did was I put up the harmonizers. The width is put up all the way, and amount is turned up about 60%. You can tell I took off the stir, because with this, that was just increasing everything up here by a whole lot. So without that, you can see this levels out a little bit more. And as you can tell, the vibrato actually fades in, because right here in the beginning there's no vibrato, and it fades in, and that's right here, the vibrato envelope. So this is it fading in. I have it start with 0, just so the note is clear in the beginning, and then it fades into the vibrato to kind of carry out the sound. Because without the vibrato at all, it's like this. No, that's with vibrato, without the fade in, just with vibrato straight up. And that just sounds pretty weird. So with this vibrato envelope, the vibrato carries the synth and the note without it starting off kind of crazy. And then this is a vibrato right here, not too much. As you can tell, I dropped the pitch down an octave, which if I reset it, could have just been reset, and then just bring it up an octave. But I just did that just because in terms of the piano roll, I would have had to put it down an octave, and just how I started up here, it was just easier to bring down the pitch to 1 octave. For those of you who don't know, this is 1 octave and this is 2 octaves. So this whole thing isn't 1 octave. This is actually a total of 5 octaves here. This is your normal 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this one would be 5. So that's a little bit about Harmore. And then I have 7 voices of unison on the synth. Without that unison, it's like this. And it sounds kind of almost noisy without that unison. And when I add in back the 7 voices, it adds in the right amount of detune to fill up the synth a little bit. So that's what I did inside of Harmore. And I mapped that to track 12, where here I have an EQ boosting the bass right here. Not quite the sub, it's around 145 hertz to 282 hertz is where I boosted it. And you would have to go down here for like the sub to really be showing at all. Right here it's bass, so boosting it here where the octave's right here. Can I play it? It's not boosting very much, but there is a little bit of subtleties right here that's boosting, as well as right here. It's getting that little bit right there. Now I wanted to really boost out this low tone because a lot's going on up here in the highs, in the tremble, and the high mids, and the mids. So I wanted to kind of leave that alone and really just get this out a little bit more to even it out a bit more. So it's not like full of highs and just sounding like there's a crazy high pass on there. And I put some reverb. I actually put on quite a bit of reverb here. Without the reverb, it's like this. And you can tell there's still a little bit of reverb because I added some on with this effector. So without the reverb, it's like this. And that's pretty boring. So with the reverb, it really opens it up a lot. So I put on quite a bit of reverb there, and that helped the synth open up a lot. And then right here, this is the filter envelope to fade in the synth. And then here I have some chords. And how I made these, as you can tell, they're fading in, and I did that with partially with the filter on an envelope here, and partially on the volume. I just kept the default volume envelope just to fade it in and fade it out pretty easily, but most of it is in the filter here. So if I disengage the filter, it's like this. And then with the filter, and then without the volume, it's like this. So the filter is still doing a tiny bit, though it's kind of hard to notice because it would be starting it from here and bring it up to here really quickly, since this is actually at 0. Now if I were to start it from down here, it would do a bunch more, but I wanted most of that to be done in the volume tab here. And I put this up to 7 voices of unison. The vibrato is the same as the lead. The harmonies are the same, and the pitch is the same. And that's because I actually made this off of the same exact synth. After making the lead, I made this, and I put on some phaser. And the main difference between this and the lead is this volume clip and the vibrato clip. So if I were to bring this up a bit more, that sounds almost exactly like the lead, and that's because it is, just with those slight little changes to it. And it makes the chords. So I put this on to track 11, where I put an EQ doing pretty much the same thing, though it's down a little bit more. Instead of up here, it's just down in the bass, just to boost that section. And then I have the same reverbs on. Though right here is a little bit less reverb, where on the lead it's right up there, and on the chord it's right down there. But still, pretty much the same thing. And just because I liked this synth a lot more, I wanted just to change it slightly to get to the chords. And I did this with a pluck envelope to fade it in. Rather than filter, I just chose the pluck because I think it would sound smoother with the chords, especially with these chords, because like the filter would be doing this, fading it in. So it's just these frequencies. And that would start fading in like this. And that would just sound a little bit weird, because I just thought that the pluck would fade it in a little bit smoother since it is a continuing sound. So I chose the pluck to do that. And then now into the verse or drop, which it kind of is. But this song doesn't really have a drop, so I just referred to this as the verse. I added in this bass here. And this bass was done inside of Harmor. And the pluck was all the way down there. That's why it didn't sound defined. So here the harmonizers are very similar, and almost everything has harmonies in the song, even though it may not sound like it because it's like a super dissonant track. That's because the song is in E minor. But kind of to make up for that, I added in some harmonizers, just because it makes everything sound a lot better, I think. Without this, it's like that, and then with the harmonizer, it just pops out the tremble a little bit more. So that's why I like the harmonizer a lot for tracks like this. And I dropped down the pitch from here to here, because it's a bass line. So dropped it down 2 octaves, and that's all I did inside of this Harmor. It's basically, yeah, that's it. This is the default synth of Harmor, dropped down with some harmonies. And now that sounds super simple, but then when you put it onto here, I just boosted some lows, and I added some pluck to it. And then with the pluck, you get kind of like an electric bass sound. It almost sounds like a stand-up bass with a little bit of electric vibe, and I think that's what the harmonizer. So it sounds like a stand-up bass, and when you add in that harmonizer, it sounds a little bit more electric. And that's what I did in here. So here it was playing this pattern, and this is the pluck envelope. And I chose it to be on why it's halftime here, so it fits in with this melody. So it's meant to fade in every time the melody doesn't play. So those fit in pretty nicely. And then this is the bass line I added in last. It just kind of defined everything a little bit better. And this bass has a very long resonance time, because it is still going even when you let go of the note, and that is here in the volume. And the reason it does that is because I kept this tail on. If I took off this tail, then it wouldn't be there at all, and it would just stop immediately. But I wanted to have that resonance, and I could have just added delay to this, which I could have just done like right here. But I wanted it to more be like a lingering note rather than just filling everything up with delay. Especially if you play really quickly. Then it fills it up quite a bit, and that's why the notes it plays are pretty slow. Otherwise, then if you're playing all these notes, then it gets kind of a musical mess, since this note's continuing while you play another note, and then there would be all that musical clashing. So that's why I kept it to longer notes, so there's not as much clashing there. Now I added some prism to this for some detune. Without the prism, it's like that just sounds pretty boring, and there's like a ton of tremble in there. As you can tell, there's very little bass tones down here. A lot of it's up here. That's where a lot of the activity is, the synth. So on this is put onto track 13, where there's a vocodex. Basically to make the synth a lot thicker. Without the vocodex, it's like this. And that sounds kind of wimpy, so with this vocodex it really boosts everything up. And then I have an EQ here, removing a tiny bit of lows. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want this to have as much mass, just like in the mix. It was just had a little bit too much mass, so I took out some lows rather than just turning down the volume. These are effects that I was testing with, but they're not enabled. But I was messing with those. Then it's fading in with a frequency at the beginning of the verse, and then it continues on for the rest of the verse. And that's just something just to make it a little bit more unique and progression that's coming in. So it doesn't start with it, but it ends with it, and it doesn't fade over the whole time, just that first bar right here, or the first 2 bars, because this is an 8-bar verse. And that is, again, having to do with it being 120 tempo at halftime, so I made it 8 bars, really just to make up for that. And then for the drums, pretty simple drum loop. I did pan the hi-hats like this, and with panning the hi-hats like this, it kind of like opened everything up, so the kick and snare were central and the hi-hats were left and right. It really just kind of, like opened everything up, so like there's space to the drums rather than everything being right in front of you. Kind of just widens everything out a little bit more. So that's why I pan the hi-hats like that. The drum looks pretty simple too. The kick, I have no effects on the kick. The snare, I just threw on a little bit of reverb, not too much, because if we play that, the drums, and it's like that. And I didn't want there to be insane amounts of reverb, because if there is, and the snare sounds like super far away, and that'd just be weird. So that's that first verse. And then the bridge and everything else pretty much contains these same elements, though in the second verse I do introduce a new element right here. And this was the Crystal synth and Harmor. I'm not sure exactly how many changes I made to the synth, so I'll just go over what's going on inside the Harmor, because I don't like using synths that I don't really know like what's going on. I just like to figure out what's going on inside of them. So right here is on a sine wave instead of this square wave, not square wave, a saw wave, because it sounds a lot smoother with the sine wave. There's some harmonies in here, some vibrato, some unison, 2 voices. What is Z's delay? So you could change delay, vibrato, and pluck, which would really just be with this. It just mapped that to X. The frequency is up to 2 rather than 1. Right. And I mapped this to track 16, where I added some reverb. Quite a bit actually. Without the reverb, it's like this. And that's because Harmor has some of its own reverbs in here and delays. So that's that synth. And that is pretty much Black Tiger. Like I said in the beginning, it's a really simple song. It just took me like 2 days to write this. And then mixing and mastering after that. But that's not too much of a big deal, because mixing and mastering, you can kinda, you just like change on the knobs and stuff. And EQ, that was when the EQ comes up. So yeah, not too much going on in this song. I hope you guys enjoyed this song. As of right now, this is my most streamed song on Spotify. If you guys would like to listen on Spotify, you can go right down to the description below, and you can follow me on Spotify and listen down there. I'd appreciate it if you guys would do that. And that's pretty much this for Black Tiger. If you guys have any questions on this song, I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. And I'd love it if you subscribe, give this video a like, and share it with everyone you know. And without any further ado, that's it for Black Tiger. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in next week's video, where I hope to do a mashup mix. One of you guys was requesting that, and it's been a while, and I've finally gotten around to doing it. So I'm excited to show you guys that in next week's video. So until then, bye.